His films have an extraordinary force and purity. They shake and move the viewer by the power, refinement and compassion with which they confront human suffering. This was used to describe the late great Japanese director Kenji Mitsuguchi, a revolutionary filmmaker in his home country. One of his most beloved and renowned pictures being Sansho the Bailiff, released on March the 31st, 1954. The film, based on a short story of the same name by Morio Gai, takes place in medieval Japan. The wife and children of a governor are sent away to live with their brother, but they soon get separated, the mother being sold to a brothel and the children are slaves. A big chunk of the movie is the kids aging and trying to escape over the years, but being physically tortured when attempting to do so. As the years progress, the brother Zushio joins them, torturing others as he believes it's the only means of survival, until a dying woman and his sister Anju convince him otherwise and he flees. Sansho the Bailiff was the last movie of Mitsuguchi's that went on to win at the Venice Film Festival, further promoting his name to worldwide critics and filmmakers. This is one of those movies that really hits you hard. It may be depressing, but it's extremely powerful. It reminds me a lot of Schindler's List in the way that these things actually happened, and although it's quite difficult to watch at times, it leaves an imprint in your memory, and it really breaks your heart to see these events take place right in front of your very eyes in such a graphic but not over-the-top manner. The original idea was to focus the story on Sansho, the slave lord, instead, but I feel focusing on the children is a lot more beneficial and gut-wrenching. All of the torture scenes are kept subtle and don't overdo it. Some of the slaves, when failing to escape, get burned by metal put on a scalding fire, including, by the way, a 70-year-old man. It's all off-screen, but it doesn't dent the emotion whatsoever. This is proof that less is better. I mean, there's a part where a woman gets dragged out of frame and we just hear screams. We don't know if she's being beaten up, burned, raped. It's left up to the viewer's interpretation. We don't need to see anything to feel these emotions. The directing style of Mitsuguchi was really revolutionary for his time. He often held a shot for quite a while, especially for back then, and I think it complements the storytelling perfectly. The shots aren't overly complex, they're kept still, occasionally panning. They're simple but effective. They show the story, often relying on the background more than the foreground, and it's the story itself that carries the picture. The thing is, I can't necessarily put this down to Mitsuguchi. Every camera shot in this picture was actually planned out and prepared by the cameraman himself, Kazuo Miyagawa. Mitsuguchi gave him control to plan and shoot it however he wanted, so sorry Mitsuguchi, you lost a point for this one. Good job Miyagawa. The characters are really likable and you genuinely want them to survive. Anju sacrifices herself for her brother, Zushio tries to save his family. Even right at the start, their father is completely and brutally honest. I mean, as if Anju wasn't selfless and fearless enough already. Check out this line! That this movie has a tendency to not only tug on your heartstrings, but it raises a lot of important issues as well as telling a fantastic story. I did feel at times it dragged a tiny bit. Not too much for me to be yelling at the screen to hurry the hell up and end, but I think maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so could have been shaved off to keep the pacing as crisp as possible. You have a fire. They also use this really bizarre and annoying whistle sound effect that just makes you want to claw out your eardrums. What does that do exactly? The thing is, I guess maybe this could have worked for creepy moments, but it plays during intense and emotional scenes. They get kidnapped and the emotion and heartfelt storytelling takes a hit because of this really stupid whistling sound effect that plays over it. Yeah, can you shut up? I'm supposed to be crying over here. The fight and chase scenes towards the end when they're fighting for freedom come across as really awkward because now there's no music at all. I really don't want the whistling back, but it's so cringy to watch. In all fairness, when he reunites with his mother at the end, it's a beautiful moment. Direction and acting is fantastic and it's so emotional. Easily the greatest sequence, but guess what comes back to ruin it? Oh, of course! It doesn't even make any sense. This scene already has subtle music in the background, so the whistling is completely pointless. It was only put in to get on my nerves, and get on my nerves it did. This film is a damn good one, and it really caused a buzz back in its day. I'd highly recommend it, but I'd suggest you have a box of tissues with you just in case, because it's not an easy one to sit through.